All right, welcome everyone to our event. We already have people connecting from all around the place, and this event is streaming live from into LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We have our first event in participation of Bardeen and Softr, and we're really happy to give this a start. So let me start by sharing and. Mhm. All right. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our Bardeen Happy Hour, where we will be showcasing how you can build a venture capital company prospecting CRM with Softr and Bardeen in less than 1 hour. I am really happy about this session because it's not only a joint event between Bardeen and Softr's community, but we also have a very important guest, Francisco, here that is connecting all the way from Chile, and he has an incredible use case on how he managed to use automation and no code apps to streamline his processes and build an app entirely without code for his huge corporate venture capital. So I want to set some expectations on what you're going to get from this event. And we're first going to introduce our speakers. We're going to show you a bit about Bardeen and Softr if you're not familiar. We're going to have Francisco's story here, and we will show you what we're building today in this 1 hour. We're going to try to build an app. We're going to showcase some automations with Bardeen, and we will have a live demo of Softr with Patrick, who will show us around how you can build an app based on scrape data from Bardeen. We will also show you some other ideas of what's possible with this combination of apps, and we will have some space for questions at the end. So let's get started. First, I would like to introduce Francisco. Welcome, Francisco. I am really happy to have you here.
Thank you, Van. Happy to be here and being able to showcase what we're currently building with both applications.
So the story about Francisco is really awesome. He was one of the early Bardeen users. He connected like a bit more than 1 year when Bardeen was in Product Hunt, and he has been using Bardeen ever since. We have walked through many use cases together, and he is probably one of the people that I know that better knows how to apply automation and no code in the venture capital space. He's connecting from Santiago, Chile, and we actually met, I think, through LinkedIn. Am I right?
Indeed, we actually met through LinkedIn. It's a quite fun story because I was looking for automations. I'm quite fan of no-code platforms, so I get to know both and probably all the companies that are currently going on in the industry too.
All right. I'm so excited to learn about what are those automations.
Mm-hmm.
We also have here Patrick that is connecting all the way from the US, and he's coming from Softr's team. Welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be a part of the webinar and to kind of show you guys really just how Softr can play and interact with Airtable and Bardeen and how they can really make a really cohesive system together. So really excited to be here. And yeah, I met Yvonne at No Code Summit in Paris just a couple weeks back, and immediately we saw like that we needed to have some sort of a session together or something because there was just so much that you could build with these two products together. So happy to be here.
Yes, we were actually collaborating on something called No Coders Games, where we were helping multiple members of a contest. They were trying to build an app in speed time, and the challenge was trying to build it with Bardeen and Softr. So we were able to help multiple users build an app in less than 2 hours. It was a really fun session, and I'm really happy that we made this happen now. Also, a big shout out to Sisa, who was helping us organize this event and couldn't make it today. If you don't know me, I'm Ivan Escobar. I'm the head of community at Bardeen. I'm also an AI automation expert, a huge geek on this topic, and I'm a digital nomad. I am from Bogota, Colombia, and I'm connecting right now from Bern in Switzerland. And we want to learn a bit about you. We want to learn who are you and where are you connecting from, and a bit about your history. I think this is a great opportunity for you to network and get to know other people in this space as well. So we're going to run our first automation, all of us together. We have more than 60 participants here live. And this is the first automation that you can run. with Bardeen for free in just less than 1 minute. And this will allow you to generate an intro over a LinkedIn profile. Oops. It'll help you generate an intro. Oops. Well, this happens. It'll help you generate an intro over your LinkedIn profile, and it'll give you a summary with AI that you can share on the comments. So I'm going to share this automation in the comments, so you can try it out and you can share your intros. We have, all right. So you can run that automation just by pinning it into Bardeen and then going into your LinkedIn profile and running it. And this will generate a summary of your profile for this event, which you can just copy paste and share it in here. We would love to learn where are you connecting from, if you're coming from a sales background, if you're coming from operations or from venture capital. All right, let's continue. So we have a merger of people here, both no coders from community of Bardeen and Softr, and we want to contextualize you on what are these two tools and how they work together. So if you are new to Bardeen, Bardeen is a Chrome extension that allows you to use web automation as easy as texting a friend. It allows you to create automations with a simple prompt, and you can see it as your personal assistant for automating those manual tasks, such as data scraping, opening your calls automatically, connecting your apps, migrating content between your apps, or even using AI on the web to summarize videos, to summarize web pages, find emails, and many, many other possibilities. You can run your first automation at bardeen.ai/explore, and we also have a really good YouTube channel that I recommend for you to start learning about Bardeen. Now, the way Bardeen connects to Softr is because we have an integration with Airtable that allows you to, for instance, scrape data from places like LinkedIn and save it directly into Airtable with just one click, or even simpler with just a right click. So this integration was kind of where the idea came up of merging these two products together. So I would love, Patrick, if you can help us introduce Softr.
Yeah, definitely. So Softr is primarily a front end for data sources and displaying those data sources, allowing you to build responsive web apps and responsive applications that let you display data from those data sources in a nice branded interface for internal users, external users, clients, anyone that maybe doesn't have access to your Airtable base, or they just need limited permissions to do certain things. Softr allows you to connect to Airtable or Google Sheets. And we also have two other sources coming as well, HubSpot and Smart Suite. But Softr allows you to not only connect to those data sources, but also allows your end users of your Softr application to add, update, read, delete those records, all from a nice branded interface.
That's amazing. And that's not even all of it. I also know that Softr is moving into the AI space. They just released Softr AI. I was able to try it as one of the early users. And I think you should definitely try that out to just create drafts of your apps in a simple prompt. You can literally prompt the type of app that you want built, and it'll generate it. Now, coming back to our topic, this merger between Bardeen and Softr is something that was explored just by a few users that have realized about this possibility. One of them, we have it here, is Francisco, who was able to use this combination of apps to create a system for himself that combined both automation and no-code web app builders, and he built it all by himself with no code and even a low budget. So we want to hear his story. So I want to introduce Francisco to the stage.
Sure.
And let's hear about his story.
So, what will be the story of the use case that we actually met and created with Ivan and Patrick was that since the beginning, as everyone knows, VCs actually have a lot of we got to deal with the whole opportunities that we get to meet each day, and it can come from different sources. Usually, for example, for me, it comes from WhatsApp. It can go through LinkedIn, through an alcohol, email reach, or even from conversations, or getting to go to an event. How do you connect, though, or even through just a call or a number phone? So That's quite painful to map all those opportunities, and you will probably not reach all of them. And so what we started with on White and said like, hey, we should definitely have a focus on getting to do those CRMs, making a little bit more effortless. We said how we could be able to create automations that we could find information from each startup that we met, and gather everything into a whole um, one source of truth database. And that's how we used it before Airtable through another applications. And I said, hey, there's something called Bardeen. It does scraping profiles or web pages from different sources. And there's a use case that we could be able to do just by scraping LinkedIn profiles, just quite simple ones, or the company's profile that every startup probably has a profile LinkedIn. So we could gather that information just as simple as the logo, the web page, the LinkedIn profile, what industry, or just even the name. So you can actually do the follow-up emails or the getting to reach out all those founders. So I will share my screen right now so you can actually see how it looks. Oh, let me
Let's
know
watch
if,
it.
yeah. So let me see. Let me know if you can see it.
Sure.
Sure.
There we
So
go.
this is really what we already been doing by this year. Is more than we already have 1,335 submissions that I have done just by scrapping with one button. So I have a lot of like opportunities that have been approaching only on this year in Latin. I'm based in Latin America too, so all those opportunities came into me, and I tried to do the whole data points and getting to know what descriptions do they have in LinkedIn. And since I'm on the corporate side, I'm a corporate venture capital. I also have a stakeholder inside the company, and we get to know that why that comes from the Telefonica group, which has more than 10,000 employees. On how I'm able to check it out that every person will be able to look at all these companies, even though, as you can see, probably it's verticals from fintech, SaaS platform, cryptocurrencies, data analytics, fintech, edtech, food tech, from construction side, advertisement. So you can see there's a lot of solution, and also the countries that I'm currently working with or getting to met. And then I said how I'm able to showcase all these possible companies to my stakeholder inside Telefonica. And that's actually how I get to know Softr, where I build a web app with all this information. And I get to say, hey, so if I'm on the corporate side and um, I'm on the side of the part of like in finances or the fintech side, I would probably go and filter what is why they're looking at on the fintech sector or what do they have in the portfolio, and I said, hey, let it load.
Wow, this is so
Mhm.
you build this entirely by yourself,
Yeah,
and this is software, right?
in the this is software, so I'm
Okay.
able to have, for example, right now in our portfolio we have nine fintech companies, and they are able to see like, all right, what does Bankwich do? So just by pressing that button, you will be able to see a little description that comes from Airtable, the web page, what do they do, and it will be over there. The operational countries, that's something that I do myself, and also some keywords just for making a little bit more in depth. What do they do? Also, we are able to look at if they have a one pager that they could share to us, or they have a commercial deck, so they are able to look at it on what they do and not have to go into further uh, getting to go through meetings, and also get to know a little bit about the startups from the perspective of the corporate side. And just could see here, I have 1.3 from our also from our portfolio. That whole presentation, or like the first step presentation for all the companies, and this is going through
Francisco.
Airtable to Softr. Yeah,
And so this was built by with the end goal of showcasing it as your portfolio to the members of your team, or was it to the entire organization?
to the entire organization. Everyone is available to look at these portfolio companies that we have in Latin America. We didn't have it before, so to have all these little upsides, such as like the commercial deck, is a little bit painful. But right now we have everything going through here, and every person in the C level of Telefonica, or even if you are an analyst and you want to know what I have as a solution, you are able to see here. We have more than 105 companies in different sectors, so they can probably look at it and take a look at what do they do, and if they say, or okay, I really want to have a meeting with this company, they are able to contact them, and they go through a like a soul, we call it introduction, or like getting to ask me for an introduction, so I'm able to enable those conversations and coming forward to have that conversation within the corporate and the startup together too. So
Wow.
that's mainly like the coming through the whole process too.
Wow, that's incredible. So people were able to, from anywhere in the company, they can ask for an introduction to those portfolio companies through your app.
Indeed. And also we are currently working that every company that we get to meet, they are able to see it too. So we can gather all the information. There's so much data going on that pitch and in those conversations with the founders that it's so rich in that kind of terms. So
All right. I have a question. How much would this have taken if it was not thanks to data scraping? Like, how was the process before this?
so the process was that I get to copy paste every single step through the image logo, through the web page, the name of the startup, and going through the whole
Okay.
process and put it over there. So imagine that doing by 1,335 rows that I have today. It will be really painful though. So just by pressing one button, it will be on 1 second, and it can go through the back screen too. So that's really amazing.
Of course. I understand this app, it's kind of a manage for your entire process, not like you manage your VC pipeline, like prospecting pipeline through Airtable, and then when they become official, then you showcase them to the entire community.
We're currently working with two ways. One of them that is currently for everyone in the community is the whole portfolio companies, the 105 companies that we have in Latin. And we are thinking of doing with the whole process too. So this was like the first pilot that got we get a good solutions. We got a lot of introductions through this app, and we're currently working on making the whole 1,335 companies that we have. So the person in charge of logistics can see the whole possibilities of solutions that will be in Chile, in Colombia, in Peru, in Ecuador,
Wow.
Venezuela, or wherever they want to see a partner through that pane at the end.
Are you the only one managing like this information, or can other members of your team also like save information from LinkedIn into this directory?
Currently, there is another person that works with me. As everyone probably knows, that VC teams are quite small. Mainly in Latin America, we are only two people in the investment side. And we both scrap companies and put it on into the CRM and go through the whole process. Though.
All right, that's really impressive, and I think it's not only like kudos to you. This is a huge example of entrepreneurship, like how you can manage to build your own kind of side project inside a company and build it entirely by yourself with low resources and with no code by exploring this type of tools. I think you're probably one of the first people who ever explored this possibility. So I wanna showcase a bit about what are the benefits of this combination. So, and I think what I've learned from your example is that by combining these two apps and like creating this tech stack of having Bardeen as a tool for data sourcing and having Softr as the Airtable for the databases and Softr to visualize that information and to modify it, you get some benefits like you can automate data sourcing. You no longer need to manually build all your databases. You no longer need to copy paste all the information. You can skip that and just have more straightforward automations that save the information from LinkedIn, from companies, from people, or whatever you set up. We have scrapers for more than 30, 40 apps in the market. The most common ones we have for Crunchbase, LinkedIn, and more. This was not a possibility. I think when you were building this, you had to build your scraper from scratch. It was a bit hard.
Yeah.
Now things are much better, and you can actually build your own automations and build this use case very fast. And that's the other thing. It's like the learning curve is much faster when you can just plug and play these automations and plug and play your spreadsheet into Softr and build a no-code app based on a database. You don't have to think about setting up maybe with another no-code builder like Bubble. It's very complex. I've worked with it. Or if you need to even make it on code, that would have been a completely different discussion. And you don't have to involve other engineering teams. You can do it yourself. And the last benefit is that you also have effortless maintenance. These are automations from Bardeen. They allow you to run the automation quickly and not lose focus of what you're doing. So you can just go with a right click on a company and save it, and you can continue with your work. And you can use Bardeen not only as the first step of making that data list of scraped data, but then you can also maintain it by adding new companies into that spreadsheet, into that table of Airtable. It would also work on Google Sheets, but today's example is Airtable. The point of this call today is that we not only want to showcase Francisco's story, is that we actually want to build it live with you. We're going to try to replicate what Francisco did with Bardeen automations, with a Softr app, and this is the process that we need to follow. We're going to scrape LinkedIn company data into an Airtable using Bardeen, and we're going to build a Softr app from that Airtable. Then we're going to add some features to be able to add that extra layer of functionality to change inputs and more. And then we're going to also showcase some automations that will allow you to maintain that app with Bardeen automations. So we will show you step by step. So stay tuned, because this skill set will allow you to build many other different types of apps. It's not only applied for VC. It's the ability to build side projects or a directory, a job board in very, very quick time. So I want to have Patrick tell us a bit about what is this app that we're building and what is the scope.
Yeah, so obviously we don't have a whole lot of time today, but we'll try and build literally as much as possible. But at a bare minimum, we kind of want, in scoping out our app, anytime that we build a Softr app, I personally always like to ask the question, what should our app do? And there are different ways that you can do this. But primarily, what's kind of the minimum features that it needs in order for us to have a working product, right? This is the MVP acronym here. And so we want people to be able to log in and also have user roles. So maybe you would have manager and employee. In this case, we just have maybe a member of the Wayra team and someone who's just visiting the website publicly. But we can certainly build that. Add and display those startup companies and all of their details, as Francisco showed here. Add the contacts for each company. So that's kind of we want to be able to add contacts as a person for that company, but then maybe also add a form that lets someone submit a request to be in contact with that company. And then also change the company status inside the portfolio if you're a member of, the actual the Wayra team or the VC company's team. So that's kind of our app scope today. Hopefully we can kind of bang that out, and we can show you exactly how to do that in Softr. So
I'm so excited. I think we'll be able to make it. With me, I have my t-shirt. This is how excited I am to see this live. This is also learning curve for me. So now let's get into it. Let's get hands-on. I will show you first. The first thing we need to do is we need a template. We need a system to manage the database, right? We need a database, structured database of the information we want from those companies, because that is the base. In fact, for almost any no-code project, you should first start structuring your database and what is the structure, your data structure, before getting hands-on and because it's going to get really complicated and messy if you don't have the right information to build upon. So first, we're going to have this Airtable template that is made by us and also with the help of Francisco. And hear me out, this is a venture capital pipeline template. This is very valuable because it's replicates the process, like the pipeline of how a VC would collect data from companies and what are the kind of questions that they would ask, what is the type of information they would collect, and what does the pipeline look like for them, how they rate things, the information that you can get. And here you can see, we're going to share the template here if you want to build with us or if you want to save it and try this experiment with us. This contains multiple fields like a pitch deck, input, multiple questions as well, like how do they get clients, the number of people they have in their team, and more. So it has companies, it has both a companies, people, and a resources database. You can check it out on the template. So now let's dive into Bardeen's automations, right? I'm gonna show you the Bardeen demo of what we're gonna do here. So I'm gonna stop sharing and actually show you a live demo of how we can build this. So we have here our template, right? And we have fields, as you can see that we have fields like startup, description, logo, LinkedIn. Many of these fields, in a normal world, you would need to go into LinkedIn and copy paste them into your spreadsheet. Today, we're going to show you how you can just one click save them automatically. Because many of these fields, you can get them from LinkedIn. So many others, you need to manually fill them yourself, right? And that is also part of the process of prospecting companies. So the first step and the first demo we're going to do is we're going to extract companies from a LinkedIn search to Airtable. And let me share you this automation that you can run it to try it out with us. And we're going to do it with an applied example. We're going to do it over a query of AI and real estate companies in North America. So we're going to come here and we're going to go into LinkedIn, and we have a query here of AI companies in North America in the real estate. So let's say you have a VC, you have a startup, or maybe you're prospecting for this type of companies, and this is your niche, and you want to research and start making your prospect outreach, for instance, from this information. So when you have the Bardeen automation, how it will look like for you is that you, opening the wrong one. It's this link. So when you go to this automation, you will be able to pin it into your app, and from there, you will see it saved into your Autobooks. So Bardeen is a Chrome extension, if you didn't know, and once you download it, you can just pin it here and you can open it, and you will see the automation saved into My Playbooks, into your space. So from here, you can see this automation that is save company information from LinkedIn search to Airtable. And the way we're going to run it is, so before I run it, I just want to make a quick overview of what this automation does. And what it'll do is that it'll go into this list and it'll scrape the information using a scraper template. A scraper template is just a way of selecting what are the fields that you want Bardeen to extract automatically. So you can manually select what are the fields that you want, or you can use our existing scraper template that is the LinkedIn company search scraper template that is made by Bardeen, so you don't have to do it yourself. Then we're going to scrape the data in the background for each one of these companies. What does that mean? It means that we're not only going to get this preview information that is not really enough, is that we're going to open each one of these companies, and then we're going to go into their about page, and then we're going to get the real data, the good stuff, right? We're going to get the website, the industry, the company size, the founded date, the specialties. All of that can be done in the same automation. And the last step of this automation is that it'll add data to Airtable. So we've already done this for another query, and that's how we were able to collect these sample data. We're doing the same example for Europe, but now we're going to run it over just a few records so you can see the example live. So we're going to go into Bardeen, and we're going to select our save company information from LinkedIn search to Airtable automation. And you will need, if you're running it for the first time, you will need to specify how the fields in our table, how these fields, how do they map to our scraper. So the way this looks like, let me reset the inputs and let me do it only once, is that you're going to run it. And now I'm going to select, okay, I just want, for the example, I'm going to get 4 companies. So it's quick because remember that Bardeen runs in your browser live. So it'll open up each one of these companies in the background. So it might take 30 seconds or it may take longer, depending on the amount of companies that you want to scrape. So now I'm going to run this. And let's see if this works. Do we have a hands up? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to it. All right. So on the left, you can see the data fields that Bardeen is able to extract. So note how the Bardeen scraper is able to get all of these fields scraped from each company. It's able to get the phone, logo, location. So whatever is, like, we have the fields selected. If the company contains this information, it'll be able to be scraped. If it's empty, well, it'll not be able to be scraped. Now, on the right, we have to map this to the columns that we have in our Airtable. So these are the different fields that we have in our table. As you can see here, startup, description, we have logo, LinkedIn URL, and we need to tell Bardeen, like, hey, the name will match to this startup. The address, we don't really want that because we're going to think like a VC. They don't really need all the information. We just need what is relevant for this case. So we're going to filter this. We're going to remove this. The founded is going to be matching automatically with the year founded. That is also really convenient. It just understood what it needed to do. The headline, we're going to ignore it. The industry, we're going to match it with industries. Jobs link, we don't need it. The LinkedIn link, we're going to match it with LinkedIn URL. The location, we're going to match it with, I think there's a cities one. Let me see. Country. Logo, we're going to match it with logo. Overview, we're going to match it with description. Phone, we're going to ignore it. Specialties is already matched. Website, we're going to match it with website. And that's about it. Now, what I recommend you is you need to remember the inputs because you already went through this work and there's nothing will change the next time you do this. So you can simply remember that setting and you're going to specify that you want to remember the Airtable setting, right? So the next time it won't ask you about this all over again. And it'll only ask you to input the amount of companies that you want to scrape. So now I'm going to run this and it should go into each one of the companies. And the way you can check if it's running is that it already scraped the information and then it starts opening them in the background. You can see how there's, like, in my browser, there's a bit of a preview that is opening each one of the companies and then it's scraping the information and then coming back to your table. So that is the process that Bardeen will do. In this case, because we're doing only 4 companies, it shouldn't take long. But let me just go into the next one so we can save some time. So now the second use case, it's even more powerful because this one is if you want to do it on, like, at batch, you want to get many companies, but that is not the reality of a VC and in fact of many salespeople as well. It's probably, it might be that you're prospecting this way, but it might be that you just go to your feed and you might want to save a company that, oh, this is interesting. Maybe this, what is this company? There's this company that seems interesting. I should check it out. I should save it into my system, right? So we're going to have this automation that will allow us to save it just with a right click. So we're going to come here and just right click it, save LinkedIn company information to Airtable. Boom. And that is everything you need to do to save that information. So I just triggered a scraper with a right click, and that is going into that company in the background and is saving it to Airtable. Let's check in with our Airtable before I show you this example. So it added the different companies that we selected, the 5 examples here, and we have this one that is 5 Invest, live, it was scraped, and it got all the fields that we wanted, including the logo, the website, the country, specialties, everything that we specified, right? And the way you can run this is, I will send you the link as well. I will share it on the comments. So if you're just connecting, we're showing how you can run Bardeen automations to map. We're showing how you can run Bardeen automations to run an app in Softr, and we're showcasing these automations to fill up your Airtable. Now, we just went through two of these very important automations. The second one, I just shared it in the comments, and you will, when you pin it, you will be able to see it here in your Autobooks. And it's this one: copy a LinkedIn profile to Airtable, and we can see that it already ran once. So I just you will need to do the same process. You will activate it. You will map the fields. You can also change how you map the information here, and you will be able to then run this automation just with a right click over any company. Let's see this guy. I think I know this guy. Oh, actually, I do know him. Let's save the company that he works on with a right click. So let's go into, maybe there's where is that Bardeen link? There is no Bardeen links. That's funny. So the way this automation works is that any company link that you see on your feed, you can right click and scrape it. So for instance, we have Bardeen here. I'm going to right click, scrape it. So that might be on your feed. That might be on companies you should check. It might be on your network. Anywhere on your feed, you can trigger this automation. Now, there's a last use case, right? It's not only about companies, it's also about contacts. If you're a VC, you want to also find who are the people behind those companies. And the process will likely be different. You will not be scraping that at scale, but it might be that you have a call with them and you get their information. So let's do an example here on how we can also save information from companies. Like let's check this one. Let's open the LinkedIn URL, and I'm going to try to save the information from, maybe if I find the founder of this company. Here it is. And this is a random company. I have no clue. So I'm going to save the information from Eric, because Eric is the founder of this company that we have here on our company's database. And I might have just had a call with him, and I need that information to be related here in my contacts database, right? So I'm going to go into Bardeen, and we're going to run this last automation, that will allow you to copy a LinkedIn profile to Airtable. We have a couple questions. I'm going to answer this one really quickly. Does it work with Notion? Yes, it does work with Notion. You can do exactly the same workflow on Notion. And we have the pre-built automations for it as well. Now, let's continue with this case. So you're going to go, you're going to pin that automation as you saw, and you're going to have it in your playbooks, and you will need to just trigger that automation, do the same process of mapping the information, and this will scrape the information from this founder. And this, check everything that it's able to scrape. It's able to get the name, the image, location, the skills, the URL. But anyway, we don't care about everything. We just map the information. So here we got the name, the company, the headline, the image, the title, and we're going to relate it really quickly here with the company that was, in this case, I think the company was different to the one we were searching for. Let's see. Yeah, it was different. So I picked the wrong founder, actually. I think I should go into another one. Let's go to the CEO, and we're going to run it on this guy. And we're going to save this profile to Airtable. And this should save the information. And we're going to relate it. What we want to do here is relate that record to our companies. So this is running live demo, and shouldn't take long. anyway, this is simply going to scrape the information from LinkedIn, and it'll save it here into our Airtable, and you can select here the records, right? And relate, for instance, this founder that was also scraped, you can relate it here on the companies with Altum, and that's about it. So those are the three main use cases for this case that will be able to help you power up that Airtable and put some superpowers into it, right? Let me share the link to the slides as well, so you can follow along with us if you want to save these automations with us. I'm going to share the link, and you can save them and try it with us. Now, we were able to save information from a bunch of companies. We have a rich Airtable now. Now we want to start building. So I want to invite here Patrick, who is going to give us a demo of how we can turn this Airtable into an app. And we might be a bit over time so we might go a bit like maybe 10 minutes after the event, where we will be able to approach the questions as well. So Patrick, I'd love to see your demo.
Yeah, definitely. So let me get my screen pulled up here. I'll just share my entire window because we'll be doing some flipping back and forth here. All right.
The integration with their table requires typing to get suggestions. I think that is when you integrate to your table, you will need to type the name of the table that you want to connect it. So that's what you need to do. You need to type the name of your table, and you will connect it to the company's database, for instance. Do you have a template for Notion? We don't have a template for Notion in this case, but you can replicate the same logic. I don't think Softr works with Notion, but you can build your own system on Notion. All
Okay.
right, we have Patrick's
Good.
on the stage. Okay, I'll let you go at it.
Cool. So can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yes,
Hopefully.
we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So when you first log into Softr, as I mentioned previously, Softr is really a front end for various data sources. We've got 2 Airtable and Google Sheets right now, with HubSpot and Smart Suite coming soon. But yeah, our example here today is an Airtable. So I've got the exact same table that Yvonne had pulled up. There's our i5 Invest one that we've been working with. And I'm actually just going to start with just kind of a blank application. I'm going to go to blank application. We have tons of different templates that you can pick from in this list. And they come with accompanying kind of sample databases to back them as well. So you can copy from Airtable and Google Sheets directly. But I'm just going to start with a blank application here so that we can kind of explore how to set this up from scratch. And by default, you get kind of some pages here. I get a sign-in page, a sign-up, reset forgot password, user profile, a form, a list page, list details, home page. But I don't have to keep these if I don't want to. I can certainly deselect them. I'm just going to create this application using all of these. And when it creates this application, you'll see that over here on the left, I've got some tabs here. There's really only 2 that we're going to look at today. It's the Pages tab, which is a list of all of the pages in our app. You can think of these like pages on a website. They all have URL slugs with them and titles. And then the other one is the Users tab, which we'll get into in just a second. And each page in a Softr app is made up of what we call blocks. And it's really like building with Lego is the way that we like to describe it. And each block, we have 2 different types. We've got static blocks and dynamic blocks. Dynamic blocks are going to be blocks that pull in data from your data source in some way, or maybe they interact with an integration like Stripe checkout or something like that. And static blocks are going to be things like things that don't change, right? Like a pricing page or a hero, a hero or your header or something like that, right? And so that's kind of the main difference there. And we're not going to be doing too much editing just for the sake of time, but you can already see that it's kind of generated some good placeholders for me to use. Some 2 different headers, one for if I'm not logged into the app and one for if I am logged into the app. So the first thing, I've already got all of these pages kind of set up, and we're just going to kind of use these that it's created for us. But I'm going to go ahead and set up some users here, and I can do this really, really easily. All I need in my Airtable is just a blank table here called users. And there's really only two things that I need as a part of the users collection, and that is a name and an email. I don't need a password field or anything like that. Softr handles all that stuff for me. So I'm just going to set up an email here. We'll rename this to email. And so maybe these are the users of my application. They can have different roles, right? So maybe instead of status, maybe we've got two different roles here. Maybe one of them is a manager, and maybe one of them is an employee, or maybe public facing or something, right? You can make these whatever you want. The terminology is not as important as just the functionality of how it's used. So maybe I've got two different roles here, and let's just go ahead and create some steve@test.com, or let's see, this is the email here. So this is, we've got Steve, a colleague of mine, and we've got Patrick, right? And patrick@test.com. Cool. So maybe Steve is a manager and I'm the employee. So we've got two users in our kind of users.
Patrick, can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great.
So yeah, I've got two users here in my users table. And before I can use these users, what I actually need to do is connect my app to a data source. And so I've already got a data source set up, but you can certainly add new ones if you like. I've already got a connection to Airtable here. This is really just if you've ever authorized Google, it's kind of the exact same process with Airtable, right? Airtable has OAuth now, and you can just give permission to each base that you want Softr to have access to. So I've just got this one for the sake of time here. And then you'll notice that it pulls in all the bases that are in my Airtable account. And down here at the bottom, I've got this Bardeen Softr VC template here. And the table is just our users table. So I'm just telling Softr, hey, this is where you need to look to get the users of this particular app. And the only required field here is just an email, which we've already got set up. I'm just going to go ahead and attach the name as well, but we've also got options for avatar, create a date, last seen date, and then you can also generate what's called a magic link, which lets anybody log in to an application just using a link, just using a static link, and you can always reset those links at any time. But for now, email and name are going to work just fine. So I'll click Save and Sync here. It'll do a short little sync here. And if I refresh this table, you'll see that there are my two users as a part of my application. Now, the cool thing about this is that I can also create user groups with these. And because I have roles set up for these users, maybe I need to create a user group called managers. Okay. And I need to add them based on conditions. So while I can add managers on a manual basis, like one by one, I can also let them flow in and out of user groups based on certain conditions that are in Airtable. So in this case, the condition is just, hey, whoever's logged in, if their role is equal to manager, then they're in the managers group, right? Save that one. And then let's create one more for employee. Add another condition here for if the logged in user's role is employee, then they're a part of that, right? And we can create and or conditions and stack them together and all that sort of good stuff too. All right, so we've got two user groups here. And then now what I want to do is kind of go back to our pages here, and I'm actually going to go to this list page that I've got set up. Now, by default, it's just kind of pulling in some sample data, but what I really want to do is maybe this page needs to display all of the companies themselves. And so maybe instead of a card view like this, maybe I want to display it very similar to the way that Francisco was displaying it. I'm just going to delete this block and let's just add a different list type, right? And if I go to my dynamic blocks here, you can see that I've got access. Let me zoom this in a little bit more so you can see. You can see I've got forms and payments and, charts and Kanban views and all sorts of cool stuff here. I'm just going to pick this list option, and there's tons more options inside there. I'm going to choose this list with small cards, which I believe is the one that Francisco used. And you can see it's still got the sample data here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect to a different table in that data source in my Bardeen kind of template that I've got. So I'll just select my data source from Airtable here. I've got my Airtable base down here at the bottom, I believe, Bardeen Softr CRM template. And the table, the Airtable table that I want to reference is just the company's table, right? And Softr is by default going to try and kind of auto map some of these fields. So you can see that it kind of picked up like the most primary fields in that table. It grabbed the logo and kind of popped it in the image slot, the name of the company, maybe the website here. Maybe I'd want to display like a category or something. And the best thing about Softr is that all of these blocks are completely customizable. So on the content side of things, let's say I don't want to display the website, I'll just hide it and maybe I'll add something else, right? So maybe this is like a tag or something. And maybe instead this is displaying like the company size, right? So now I've got a nice label here that shows me what size company that is. And so you can really customize these to do and display whatever you like. And even the elements themselves of these cards are even customizable. So maybe the logo, I want it to be, really big, really, tall and wide, and maybe I want it to be round instead of square, right? So these are all types of different variations that you can make on this. Maybe the company size, I want the text color to be, blue, and I want it to be massive, right? There's all sorts of different, customizations that you can do here. We can change padding and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to get too deep into that. But I do want to kind of show you that there. So I've got my list. It's almost there, it seems, right? The next thing that I kind of want to show is just this add record button. And so if I go over here to the actions tab for this particular list block, you'll see that I've got something called top bar buttons and item buttons. In the top bar buttons, I have the ability to add a record, except in this case, we're not really adding a record. We kind of are, but we're really adding, a company, right? Add a company. And if I click on this little drop down here, you can see that I can actually specify the different fields that I want to be available to add, right? So maybe instead of file, this is a file type input, but I want to link this to a logo, right? And so we would call the label for this a company logo. And it is required, right? Maybe the next one is just the title. So this would be the startup title. So this is a good way, like if you wanted to add them manually, you can do that. But I'm going to show you another thing here as well. So Bardeen is obviously scraping this data, but let's say that you wanted to add one manually or, edit it within the app or something like that. You can always do that here. So let's just do the logo and the title for now, for the sake of time here. We'll leave all that kind of the same there. And so now I've got a button that lets me add a company, right? But maybe not everybody needs to add a company. Maybe only managers are able to add companies. What I may do is go into the button visibility here and say, hey, maybe only the people who are logged in should see this button, and not just the people who are logged in, but they have to be a manager, right? They have to be a manager in order to see this button. And so what this allows us to do is kind of hide and show different things based on which group a person is in. And we can do this not only on a button basis, but we can also do it on a block basis as well. So if I go to the visibility for this block, you can see that I can set kind of the same conditions here, right? So who can see this block? Logged in users, should they be a part of a group? I can even control what device this particular block is visible on, right? If I want to hide this block on mobile or on desktop, I can do that. And so we pretty much have almost the basis of what Francisco has built. But the really powerful part about Softr is just the ability to click on one of these items, see more details about it, and then create additional information that is tied to that company, right? So in his example that he showed you, you may be able to, someone may request to contact that company, right, about something. We can do that very, very easily. So in this list block here, maybe on the action. So when a person clicks on that particular card or that company, instead of doing nothing, maybe I want to open a details page about that company. And I can select that page. Thankfully, we can just go ahead and create one very easily here. We'll create a linked details page. And again, it's going to kind of show me like, it's going to kind of name it for me, right? It's created a page and it's called it company's details, but you can always change that. It's giving me some kind of placeholder text here, but I'm going to change this because I'm going to link this to my data source again. So if I click on this list details, you can see it's kind of already picked up the data source itself. It kind of auto detected that, but maybe in the content, I want to just change what is mapped to these particular items in this list details screen. So maybe the image is, you know, the logo, right? And this changes kind of dynamically as I do it. Heading, maybe this is like the startup name, right? The text, maybe this is like a short description. And maybe the tag is like, I don't know, the company size. And then maybe the rich text, maybe this is the longer description, right?
Can we have a link, for instance, to LinkedIn or to the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's tons of things that you can do here as well, or there's lots of different types of displays that you can put here. So not just text, but even rich text, heading types, emails, URL. So in that case, maybe we would want a URL to the website. So we could set that to website. Right? Maybe we want to just take away that thing there. And maybe we want to make it obvious that this thing is clickable. So let's make this kind of like a blue, you know, more of a blue link there so that someone can click on the website. And then even, you know, if I wanted to add a PDF of the slide deck, right, I've got, you know, embeds, image galleries, audio clips, video clips, anything that I want to put in here, I can do that. And I've even got one down here at the bottom called PDF. And fortunately, I've got
now it's looking more like Francisco's app.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I want to set this to be the pitch deck for this particular thing. I've just thrown in a sample one here, but obviously you could, you know, make one different. And, you know, it's a little too skinny. Maybe we just want to make it wider. Like maybe we'll set the padding to be, you know, a little bit less. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different options here that you can set for that. Lots of different input types as well. So we've got our pitch deck that's a part of that. And then maybe, let's say I want to allow someone to, you know, want to contact one of these companies the way that Francisco had built in. So in our, I think this table may actually just be used for like the contacts that are within a company, but maybe we wanted to have something called like contact requests, right? Where a person is submitting like, hey, this is the company that I want to contact, and here's my email and my name, right? So maybe this is like the email to our email. We don't really need this assignee field, but maybe we do need like a link to the company that they're requesting. We could set this to just a link to another record. We'll link it to a company, and maybe we'll call this company. Yeah, we'll just call it company for now. Or company request. Right, so we've got the person's name, their email, and, you know, the company that they're requesting to contact. What we can do is back in Softr, even on this same page, I can add another block here that's a form. And maybe this is just a customizable form here where we can change all the fields about this. And what I'm going to do is it's going to ask me, okay, what's the destination? Like, what are you sending in this form? I'm just going to say send to my data source, but we've got options for like sending directly to MailChimp or MailerLite, Zapier, Make. You can even forward the request directly to your email if you like. But I'm just going to send it to our data source, our Airtable data source here. So we'll select that. Go into our Airtable base here again. Got our Bardeen Softr CRM template. Our Airtable table here is going to be our contact requests. And again, we can map the exact same fields here, right? So, maybe instead of, let's go ahead and delete some of these standard fields here. We've got our full name, our email, and then the last one is one of the powerful things about Softr is that we can create something called a hidden field. And this is something that the end user doesn't actually have to fill out, right? This would be the actual company that they are requesting to contact. And so we can actually set the value automatically for the user without them having to like select it from a drop down or type it in or something like that. We've got this option here called current record, which is basically no matter which company we click on, it's going to show that company's information here on this screen. And we're going to use that company's information and save it as a part of the form that the person submits.
So it's relating to the data of the current page.
Exactly.
The current record.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So in this case, what we want to send is we just want to send the current records startup, right? Because that's where that's the first field in our company's database. It uses this first field to kind of, match up that link there. And so really what this looks like is what we'll go ahead and do is I'll go over here to the users table here. And what I can do is I'm just going to generate a magic link for Steve. Since he's the manager, we'll be able to see everything that we want to see here. So it's created a magic link. I'll just copy this and we'll paste it into a new tab here so that we can log in as Steve. Oops, let me publish this really quick. Here we go.
you
like
say
a
it's
little
so
confetti
casually.
thing there.
Like,
yeah,
you have a brand new app.
That's right.
So simple, just 2 clicks.
So there's our homepage. The only thing is I forgot to add a way to get to our company details page. So if I just let me just copy this. I think it's company details. Normally you would add a link using a header or something like that. But so you can see that it pulled one of the companies for me. And I've got a form down here where I can just put in my full name. And Yvonne's questioning, he's wanting to, contact this company. So he's going to submit the inquiry. And we can set, different actions like, oh, where do you want to send the user after they've submitted this, right? There's all sorts of things that we can do there. But if we go back to our Airtable, you can see that in our contact requests, we have, oops, I think I forgot to, let me just link this really quick. Gotta hurry here. Let's go down and link the full name. So let's map this to the name and we'll map the email to the email and then we'll try this again real quick. Let's try this again. Just refresh
and from that form, you can also customize it to, for instance, send an email to Francisco or the manager so they can get that intro and it's copied.
Right, exactly.
To my email.
Yep, exactly.
You can start customizing from there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people use Airtable automations to do that as well, which is a really popular way to do that. So we'll just submit our inquiry again now that I've mapped the fields correctly. And if we go to Bardeen, you can see that there's a request there for, from Ivan. Here's his email, and here's the company that he's asking about. And so the cool thing about this is back in our companies table, we actually have a new field that was created for us over here. It's probably hidden. Let's turn it on. Contact requests. Yeah. So you can see that for this particular company, we can even count and look up how many requests have been submitted to this company, which makes it really easy to track that. So anything that you've got in Airtable, you can edit it, modify it, add to it, view it. Anything that you want to do, you can do right here in your in Softr. Let me just see.
So there's a double sync, right? So from Softr you can change things, and also if you change things from Airtable, they will reflect on Softr.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So two-way sync. No matter where you change the information, it's always kept in sync. Yep. Exactly.
That's awesome. Maybe we can see just the last example on, for instance, there's other fields that Francisco might need to input into this company, like maybe the let's see the Airtable. But if you wanted to also input information into Softr and it's saved into Airtable, is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've got a bunch of empty columns here. So there's,
for instance, there's a series column. I think that can be, I think there's a round, like what is the round that this company, that this startup is on? Investment series. There it is.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is a type, a drop down type. So we've got a bunch of different options here to pick from. And the cool thing about Softr is, let's say that, I'm adding a company here and I want to be able to select what, phase of investment, what funding round this company is in. I can do that super easy. I'll just go to the list page here. And because we have different types of inputs within a form, so within that add company button, I'm just going to go in and kind of change these inputs a little bit. So we've got our company logo, our title, which you just saw. I've also got the ability to, type in a phone number that's auto formatted, upload files, dates, put in check boxes and ratings. But one of the things that I can do is I can do a drop down here. And so what I can map this to, not only single select and multi-select field types in Airtable, I can also map it to linked record fields as well. So if I wanted to, select a person that's attached to a record, I can do that. So in this case, I think you said investment series. And the cool thing is that Softr will automatically kind of sync those options for you. So there's our options that are right there in Airtable: pre-seed, seed, series A, series B, so on. And I can even control how they're sorted: A to Z, Z to A, as defined in source, or I can turn the sync off and even rearrange them in a custom order if I want to. And so if I make this required and then hit publish one more time, you'll see that this new form that we've got on our, it'll change from this to, now we have the option to add a company, and we've got a nice drop down here. So I left the label off, but you can see that there are the same exact options that we have in Airtable as well. So yeah, pretty much any field, any column that you've got in Airtable can be added as a field. So your number fields, your date and time fields, long text. We've even got a rich text editor there that you can do. Pretty much the only ones that you can't use as an input are any calculated fields in Airtable. So these would be things like lookups and formulas and rollups. Those are things that Airtable calculates itself. That's not actually something that you can change manually. So those are the only ones that you can't change from the Softr side.
All right. For apps like this that you're deploying almost instantly, is there any, like, you can deploy at any moment and with no implications, no need for versions or for any
you can do, yeah. So there are some ways that you can do versions. So in the settings over here, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have something called app history. And you can actually just save, you can take a snapshot of that app in case you need to go back to it later, right? So something changed or you messed something up, you can always go back to like this manually saved version of your app if you want to think of it that way. We've also got a tab for theme as well. So if you want to change like the defaults for the fonts, we integrate directly with Google Fonts. The button weights and the roundings and colors and all that sort of stuff are completely customizable.
Yes.
And yeah,
Patrick,
so there's tons available.
So my key highlights from this is I'm just quite impressed on how quickly you can build an app with Softr, and especially just like you can leverage those building blocks. I think it's like Lego for building no code. It's like you can pick your build block, put it there, and set it up. And as much as you can leverage template, I wanted to ask you if there's a way we can turn this into a template.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll just rename this really quick. We'll call this Bardeen Softr Demo template. And if I go back to my dashboard here, I'll just make this, I'll just create a template from this. And I should have copied that. Softr, oops. Template. We could upload a thumbnail, but what we want to do is just kind of copy this public link here.
So you have the link to the Airtable template as well.
Oh, thumbnail is required. I'm sorry, can you say that part again? I'm sorry.
So you would need to have both an Airtable and a Softr app to turn it into a template.
Yes. Yep. Correct. So you need to have kind of the database that goes up underneath it, and then the other piece too. I've got.
All right. So while you finish that, Patrick's basically creating a template that we will be able to share in the comments. So if you had any struggles following until now, you can simply see how the app is built and what are the steps that he took, and just play with this app that Patrick built live with us. Play with it yourself. And if you want to experiment from there, that can be a great way for you to get started into this example. And I don't know, maybe you can be launching a venture capital app or a company directory, or a project that leverages company data just at the end of this week. Could be possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the. I'll go ahead and stop sharing, but I will do the. I will post the link to that new template in the chat there.
Awesome. So we just shared the template. You can learn from it. You can analyze it, duplicate it into your Softr space, and you can try it out. So I'm just come back to the stage now, and I wanted to share just what happened is that Patrick was able to run through all of this process in 20 minutes. So connected the data sources, created roles, created a company pipeline, and then created a portfolio, and then turn it into published it and turned it into a template. So this is something that you can experiment as well. And this is not the only possibility that you can build. There's so many things that you can explore. I'm a no-coder myself. I have built apps with similar stacks before, and I have taken, for instance, the complex tools like Bubble, and I have learned about them, but for real, it's not the best way to start. I really vouch for this type of tech stacks that will allow you to just get from data to a product real fast. So there's some ideas for things that you can build upon scraped data or upon these two tools together. So the first one is, for instance, building a company leaderboard app. If you wanted to build a replica for Product Hunt, or maybe make the top VCs on an industry, if you can showcase the top AI apps in sales. If you want to make a leaderboard app, Softr already has a template for this. They already have the Airtable template as well, and you can simply scrape data from Crunchbase, from LinkedIn, from other pages, and fill it up for your leaderboard app. I would have loved to have this template when I built a project myself a couple of years ago. That was exactly what this is trying to do. It was called Unicorns, like a product hunt for startups in Latin America. And I could have probably built it on a weekend with this tech stack. There's other ideas that you can explore, building a directory app of companies, getting data from Crunchbase, from LinkedIn. You can make a directory app of different VCs in an industry or in a region. There's an example for LATAM. You can build a job tracking app. Like, you can also scrape jobs with Bardeen, and you can make your own job tracking software. Instead of paying for other expensive softwares, you can build your own, where you'll be able to save jobs from LinkedIn, from Remote OK, from any other job searching platform that you're using and build your own system to track your jobs, to send emails, to maybe even use AI into that process and change the status of those jobs. Or that can be a useful tool if you want to implement that. For instance, if you have a company in the recruitment space, that can be an interesting insight, as well as the applicant tracking. It's also a use case for recruitment. If you have hundreds of applicants, for instance, Bardeen right now is hiring for a product manager. So if you're a product manager, check it out. But we got a lot of applications that we could basically scrape all of those applications and build an app to manage that pipeline. In any way, Softr has a lot of templates, and you can check them in softr.ai/templates. And Bardeen also has a lot of templates that you can just combine them and have an app built very quickly. You can get inspiration as well from ChatGPT. Maybe ask ChatGPT, hey, I have this ideas. How can I build it? Or help me brainstorm ideas on how I can use these two apps together. There's Softr templates, and there's this app that I recommend that is called Side Project Stack that can help for inspiration of real apps that were built with no code, and it showcases multiple apps that were built with similar tech stacks that were built entirely without code, and you can see some examples to draw some inspiration. All right, so we had a couple questions, and we are sorry about the session going so long. So if you have to drop now, we really thank you so much for participating, and this has been an awesome session. Now we're gonna approach the questions, but before that, I wanted to get Francisco in the stage. Just like Francisco, I want to get your thoughts if you're there. What do you think about the app that Patrick built?
I mean, it was amazing though. Like getting to do this with getting to I have zero knowledge of coding, so getting to see these platforms going on, and I am being able to create a web app with all the information that I have from the startups and able to publicly just done it in 30 minutes. Like what's going on in this world, like it's really crazy. The new things that could be happening right now, and even with AI, it could be another step into it. Instead of like 30 minutes, will be probably gonna be 20, just based on a template. So it's really getting a little bit scared if I'm being actually a developer right now, getting into these new platforms, right?
Yeah, I think it's not to be scared. It's more of how, even if you're a developer, you can be aware of how
Mhm.
no code is moving so fast that some of the
And then,
projects that you might be overcomplicating with code, you can build them with no code relatively fast. I think if you're a coder and you're like denying the existence of no code, that's a bad decision. You need to learn about it as well, because so much of what you do might already be built at half of the price or half of the time. So now let's answer some of the questions that we have from the audience. Thank you, Francisco. I love to have your thoughts, and I agree. There's so many things that you can also build upon in the
yeah,
AI space as well.
yeah, and
In
also
this same
like,
example.
I just built it like an apple from a portfolio from the point of view of the VC, but it could be totally the opposite side, just mapping all the VCs that are over there in the whole world. You can get a lot of knowledge on that, so it's quite interesting to have those other point of view too.
Yes, totally. Just building an app showcasing VCs can be super valuable for
And then,
founders as well. Um, All right. So now let's answer to some of the questions. We have a question about breaking down the cost of Airtable and Softr. So I'm going to answer first with, sorry, about what is the cost of this entire stack of Airtable, Bardeen, and Softr. Let me answer on the Bardeen front, and maybe Patrick can help me on Softr and Airtable.
Yeah.
So Bardeen is free to start with. We have a catalog of hundreds of automations that you can run for free. The way Bardeen, you can also start with a free trial of 15 days, and you will need to start paying once if your automations have paid actions. For instance, scraping in the background will consume credits that are paid. So you can pay, for instance, you can start by paying from as cheap as $10 a month. Start paying the Bardeen credits that you will be able to run into your premium automations. And that is how Bardeen pricing works. You can, like, for many use cases, for instance, scraping the two use cases that we saw with Bardeen, like scraping the list of companies and scraping a profile. If you have it right there on LinkedIn, those are free. But things like the right-click automation, that would charge you one credit of Bardeen that you would need to pay. Anyway, Bardeen has a trial that you can try out and see if it's worth it and if it's the right tool for you. All right. Can you share us a bit, Patrick?
Yeah. So on the Airtable side, obviously I don't work on, for Airtable, but I do pay close attention to their pricing and kind of how it's structured. So Airtable also has a free plan that you can do. Now you're limited in like how many records you can have in an Airtable base. I think it's like 1,000 or something, but they do have more plans where you can have, 50,000, 50,000 records, up to 125,000 records on a business plan within a single base, Airtable base. And then Softr's pricing, or I want to say for Airtable, I think it's like $20 for their team plan and $45 a month per person for their business plan. And so there's kind of staggering there. You can view their pricing page for more of that. As far as Softr's pricing is concerned, we don't really charge by the number of records that are in there. You can build unlimited applications on Softr as long as you're using like a Softr subdomain. Like the link that I sent was a Softr subdomain, that softr.app link that I sent. But you can also, on various plans, have custom domains as well. So we have a free plan that you can always stay on, and you even get a free custom domain on that one as well. And then there's removal of branding kind of as you go up, and then you can increase the number of users that you have in your Softr app, and increase the number of custom domains that you can attach to your apps, and all those sorts of things. And then there's also some little minor unlocks as well, like if you need access to the timeline block or the Kanban block or calendar or something like that. Those are, or e-signature, for example. So there's some really powerful scaling opportunities there. Start small, scale as you need it. It's super easy to do. And you can make an MVP for free and just test your ideas. Essentially, with the 3 apps, you can make MVPs spending zero or very little, and your tech stack might be very affordable as well. Absolutely.
So be a great opportunity for aspiring founders, even students that want to build their apps. So I understand that you start paying once you want your custom domain, and you can even get one custom domain for free, right?
Yes. Yep. That's correct. So I think on our there is some mild branding on kind of those lower plans, but our professional plan is $139 a month. You get, it's completely white label. You get up to 5,000 app users. You get access to charts and calendar, inbox, Kanban. You get 2 custom domains. So it's a really flexible kind of pricing structure and plan that lets you do that sort of stuff.
Awesome. Lastly, we have a question from Edu that is, why is Airtable used so much instead of a simpler spreadsheet like Google Sheets?
Well, on the Softr side, Airtable is typically used more because that's where Softr started. We started as a Softr specific or an Airtable centric kind of platform, and Google Sheets is actually a relatively new data source for us, just in the past year or so. But we certainly have tons of people that use Google Sheets now, just because it's most people have access to it. You can store lots of data there. You can perform VLOOKUPs and formulas and all that sort of stuff. But I think just in general, Google Sheets is a little bit of a differentiation in that Google Sheets is primarily a spreadsheet software, and Airtable is primarily a database software, right? They're not always the same. They have some crossover, but a lot of people prefer Airtable because it is specific to, a record is one row of information, whereas Google Sheets, is a little bit more flexible in how you use cells and how you combine cells and that sort of thing. So It really just kind of depends on where your data is currently and kind of your, how many rows you have and all that sort of stuff.
All right. Yeah, I get it. I think Airtable. I see Airtable as Google Sheets with steroids. Like you can add automations upon it. You can add relations. So many things that you cannot build directly on Google Sheets, or it's not that intuitive. I think personally, I'm a fan of Airtables when it comes to more robust projects, more scalable projects. If you are just searching to build something quick, you need a spreadsheet, you want to scrape data quickly, use Google Sheets. For instance, Bardeen allows you to create the spreadsheets directly on the automation. So you don't even have to create the columns. You can just run the automation and type the name of the spreadsheet that you want, and it'll create the spreadsheet. So it might also be a quicker way to approach it. All right. All right. That's awesome. I think there's no any other questions, and I wanted to thank everyone for coming, and it was really an awesome event. I was looking forward for this type of event for a long time because I have been a no coder myself, and I know that there's stacks that allow you to build quicker than others and experiment your ideas. And I appreciate you for joining, and do check out Softr.ai and check Bardeen.ai. We both have very strong communities. So at Bardeen, we have the community at Bardeen.ai. I am leading that, and I would love to have you join us, where you can be exploring other use cases, showcasing your automations, where you will have a supportive community that will help you through this learn curve, and you will also be able to get learnings and support other uses as well. You will also get support if you have questions on your automations. You will be able to ask from there as well. All right, and I think any other comments on Softr, Patrick? You're muted. I'm gonna unmute you. I think you're still muted.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I just shared my email in the comments. So if anybody has further questions, please feel free to reach out. And I'm also happy to connect on LinkedIn as well. So.
Yes, of course. I am also on LinkedIn as well. I think we're both creating our personal brands there, and just would be awesome to connect and see, because I'm sure that if you took all the time to see this event, you're probably a really, really interesting person to connect to. So yeah, thank you so much for participating, and thanks for all the good comments that we have in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you on the next Bardeen Live. Bye-bye.